Yeah. Says we're live. I think we are.
New platform. Hi guys. Well,
I think we're fine. Let me just make sure.
as I said, I'm just
Guys,
getting ready.
let us know if you guys can see us and hear us and stuff. Yep. I can see me. I can see you. We are on. We are live. And let me just turn this off on this end. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode, another daily download on Shino's Arsenal. Make sure you guys are liking the video, subscribing to the channel. I see your guys' comments are coming through, which is great. And I have Diluted on today, which is amazing. So make sure you guys say hello to him as well. We just did a show on his channel. So make sure you guys check that out. When is it going to come out? Do you know?
Probably tomorrow. So Friday, if you're watching this on a replay or anything, I don't know.
Okay, so on Friday. Cool. Nice. Okay, so let's jump right in because we haven't spoken for a while. Well, we spoke like a couple minutes ago. We haven't spoken a while since like basically the Sesko thing. Like we spoke a lot about that. That didn't come to fruition. The Euros are going on now. Copa America is going on now. People are freaking out about not getting signings. What's your feeling on the timing of signings? Do you feel like Arsenal are being deeply unserious by not having any like true links or anything like that yet? Or do you feel like we just need to be patient?
Got to be patient, man. As I say, every window, like I'll reserve all of my thoughts until September's deadline comes and you haven't signed, because obviously fans, we can only comment on what we see in it, but we don't know the conversations that are or aren't being had, and we don't know the many moving parts. And you alluded to it there when you said that you've got the Euros, you've got the Copa America, there's a lot of moving parts. So I understand that, the kind of being annoyed at the lack of movement and things like that, but it's early days. Like, it's the 27th of June. I do think once it gets started, not just for Arsenal but for everyone, every day there'll be some transfer news. It feels like the calm before the storm, but the quicker we get the signings in, the better, because I think there is a correlation between getting them in early. You look at the last 2 years, the players have come in early, they've integrated well, and generally they've done all right. And Mikel Arteta seems to be big on getting in players early, fully integrated on and off the field in pre-season, and just hit the ground running. So we got to be calm, man. We got to be calm. But with every passing day, of course, you're thinking, oh, you know what? When is there actually going to be someone holding the shirt? And we've actually made a signing. We've signed an 18-year-old for our academy. So things are happening.
Listen, people are freaking out about us not like doing anything with the academy or whatever. And now you're actually getting somebody in the academy. So relax. I guess it's more like they want people to be integrated. I know I saw some pictures of Nweri earlier, like with a Brazil top on, and people are getting excited. Should we be excited about Nweri being integrated into the first team, or do we really need to like pump our brakes?
Both. Be excited. It's hard not to be excited. He's very much an Arsenal talent, but people need to remember he's 17, 18 years of age. He has to adapt tactically, he has to adapt physically. Consistency becomes a thing. There's no point being great on a Tuesday if you can't do it on a Saturday. He's still growing, in terms of puberty. He's 17 years of age, mentally as well. So it's hard not to be excited. I would like to see him exposed to more first team football at Arsenal next season, but we've got to be careful. But as you know yourself, Jess, we live in a day and age where if you're an early teenager and you have one good game, everybody starts saying you're the next this, that, the other. When you inevitably have a period where you struggle, those same opinions go the other way. So be excited, but just let him be slowly cooked, as Arteta famously said about a few players. I think he's one of those where he's an exception to the youth rule. He's of the Kobe Mainos and the Sakas and the Foden. Is like, you're just born to play football. You are destined to reach Arsenal's first team, which I hope is to a degree next season. So let's just see, man. But be excited, man. Word to Josh Kroenke.
Are you worried about Cheeto Obi Martin and the whole thing with Bayern? I just have to ask this super quick because I'm like, nobody really has watched. I feel like with Cheeto Obi Martin and Cozier Dewberry, these guys, I feel like people are only really panicked about them when they hear that they may leave. But when they're actually playing, no one really cares. Like, are you worried about Cheeto Obi Martin going to Bayern? Is that a big deal or not? And with Cozier Dewberry, should we be alarmed that he would potentially be going to like a Brighton or a Newcastle on a free? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, where Arsenal's concerned, as you've seen with Waters, as you've seen with Koji Drewby, I think as a club generally, We need to be a bit more proactive and get them tied down and make sure that, you know, we're able to either loan them out and ensure they develop. Because if them two boys were at other clubs, Chelsea or City, they might not have reached the first team, but they probably would have been sold for a lot of money. Not everyone can make it from our academy, but we can make profit on them. So from a club point of view, supporters point of view, I'm a bit alarmed.
Mhm.
From as someone who watches youth football, it's the writings on the wall. You know, clearly he didn't go on loan and Waters because it didn't in January because he didn't sign new deals. And logically speaking, I'm not saying leaving or staying is the right option, but you need to go and have a career. You need to go and get 100 appearances. Minutes are currency. You've got Saka in front of you, Nelson in front of you, Jesus, Martinelli, Trossard, probably bringing in a multi-million-pound signing. You haven't exactly been exposed to. I'm not criticizing Arteta, but you haven't been exposed to any real football there. You're playing under 21s football. You need to be outside your comfort zone. So the writing was always on the wall. In relation to Chido Obi Martin, I think his general plays actually improved quite a lot throughout the course of the season.
Yeah.
I do like his attitude. He likes to make decisive moments. I would be disappointed to let him go. I don't know if he could break into Arsenal's first team, but I do think he's a talented boy, and you want to at least have the option of that. But at the same time, if you go to Bayern Munich and they've pitched you a better, some sort of project to develop you, and you feel that's the best place to serve your development, what can I tell you, really? I'm sure Chelsea are upset to lose Musiala, but look where he is. And people got to remember, from a club point of view, and I'm not criticizing the club, I do the same. They don't care about you beyond the point. Of course, they care about you as a human being, but they don't care about you beyond the point of anything else. They don't necessarily care if you make it or not. You're a commodity to them. So if there's a slight bit of your heart that feels to go somewhere else and develop, then that's something we're gonna have to do. And that, you know what, to young talented players, you're not going to be able to keep them all in it, really and truly. People would say for Obi Martin, I know he's 16, 17, but you've got Harry Kane in front of you. If you stayed at Arsenal, they brought another striker in, it is what it is. But if he feels he's going to get exposed to a quicker route to form out a career, whether that's at Bayern or elsewhere, or even Dortmund, who are linked with him, go and do your thing, man. Like, go and do your thing. So I hope he stays, but it is what it is. I think every English club has to put up with that, Jess, man.
Yeah, what about, I mean, like, what do you say to the people that are like, oh, well, the reason why Cozier Dewberry is not able to stay is because, like, so-and-so is blocking them, like, because we didn't sell Reece Nelson, or, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like people are trying to piece two and two together. You know, it's like, well, why doesn't he have a spot? Reece Nelson didn't even play. So it's
naturally, naturally, that is something to consider. And if I was Cozy Dewberry's agent and advisor, respectfully to Reece Nelson, because at the end of the day, you are playing for Arsenal, you are a success story because you came from Hayland and you are part of the first team. But I would say to Cozy Dewberry, look at you, you're 19. Do you want to be 23, 24 like Reece Nelson, where you haven't really advanced as quick as you can? Naturally, he's been blocked, but everybody's blocked everywhere. I mean, this is life of a big club. And the better we get as a football team, generally there's going to be less opportunities, really. You know, when we was crap, you know, Saka's an exception to the rule in that Saka would have came through, but Saka, Smith Rowe, Martinelli, Eddie and Nketiah to a degree, they were given prolonged first team football. Now we're challenging for titles and things like that. It's very difficult. Look at Paul Palmer. Had some great moments for City. Couldn't buy a game really for Man City. Gone Chelsea and been a star boy. So I just think it's the nature of the business and the belly of the beast, really, yes, man.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think there's always like a reason why, and like trying to weave it back to Mikel in some way. And obviously there are things that Mikel can do better, but you know, I don't think it's not finding minutes for Cozier Dewberry. I feel like there were barely any minutes for Reece Nelson, and like we know what we look like without Saka. I think not having a backup that's like of a certain level is more of the issue than anything. And as much as it's like, well, Cozier Dewberry is more exciting because he's coming from the academy and we don't know a lot about him. He's more exciting than Reece Nelson, but he's probably not, you can't say without a shadow of a doubt that he's better. So it's kind of like, I think this is just how things kind of go. I think the only player that is probably in the right to like break in is probably Nweri, but I haven't really watched him. And so you're saying like pump the brakes.
He's got a lot to work on. Like he's there. Tactically, he's gonna have to learn what Arteta wants. Consistency is the one thing. And also at the end of the day, for these young players, it does feel like Mikel can't do any right or wrong because people want stars and then they want all the young players and then they want everybody to be rotated and everybody to
want everything.
You want everything, Jess. So it can't really happen like that. It's not going to. What I could say with Mikel Arteta is Maybe there's been opportunities to blood them, like when we've won 6-0, we've been playing in cup
Right.
games. Maybe there's been opportunities you could do better. But then I have to flip it and say, I'm not criticizing Arteta, but football's a funny old game of opinions. What if he doesn't rate a lot of these young players that are leaving and he doesn't quite think they're good enough?
True.
This is
And
it. And that's
that
where I
could
said
be it.
exactly. And that's where I said at the start, the one thing that we can do as a club is make money on these guys. Because if he's at Chelsea or City or something, you might not break through to the first team, but they're going to sell you. Look at Amari. People can mock him about not making it at Chelsea, bearing in mind he actually played Premier League minutes for Chelsea versus us. But they had a career development plan for him. He's gone on loan to Ipswich. He's probably going to go there permanently or go somewhere else. They've made a handsome profit. So that is something we could do better at versus letting these players leave for free and then seeing them pop up to some degree. You look at Josh Da Silva at Brentford. We let him go for free. For respectfully to him, he's not exactly one of the best in the league, but that could have been money. If our academy is not producing Sakas and people to play for our first team, it can obviously get produced money for us to, I'm sure we're going to get into it, but go for these players with stardust and in their own way and whatnot. So, yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah. Blaze says, Jess, Arsenal fans always panicking, whatever will happen.
Exactly.
This is our DNA, always getting a meltdown about everything. It has kind of become our DNA a little bit to be upset about anything, no matter what it is. It's a problem. And so I just don't really feel like Cozier, Dewberry, those that's actually a big problem. I think Nico makes a really good point saying the problem is that we should at least be sending these guys on loan and selling them for pure profit, which is kind of like what you were saying too. Letting them leave on free is bad business, and allowing other teams like Chelsea or Newcastle being able to sell these players on for good profits is kind of where my annoyance kind of lies. So yeah, but enough on that. Let's talk about the stuff that people really want to talk about, which is transfers and the nonsense. Basically, Kiwior conceded the penalty against France, so I'm sure you were like, yeah, I can't wait to talk to us about this.
Nah, man, that's not. No. We never want to see Kiwior fail, man. Nah, man, right. You don't want people to fail. It's not nice.
Kiwior, I was like, no, Kiwi, no. But I do think like seeing the hype around Calafiori, and then like the conversations around like Kiwior, and then seeing Zinchenko kind of like get lost at the back post for Ukraine the other day, and seeing the best and worst of him, and that kind of stuff just brings up the conversation around like what are we doing at the back, and how can we improve? Because as much as like I know that we only want to talk about like strikers and stuff, genuinely I do think left back is a little bit of a problem. Like the merry-go-round from it, none of the options seem like how we feel about Ben White. I don't know. I think most Arsenal fans feel this way about Ben White, is that like on most days, he's definitely the option 90%, 95% of the time. Like we're totally happy with the way that he plays, and we feel confident that he's a good starter. With everyone else, Kiwior, Tommy, and Zinchenko, it just kind of feels like none of them really fill us with the most confidence, or like they're not that consistent. And so we're consistently being linked with left backs, left-sided center backs. And I don't know exactly where I saw it from, but somebody was saying that like right back, right center back is not really that big of an issue because you have Ben White that can play there. You have, Timber that can play there, but left-sided center back, left back is kind of the issue. And so we've been linked with Calafiori. Can you give me your initial thoughts on the player and how good he is? And, how do you see him potentially fitting at Arsenal? Because we've been linked to him like everyone else.
Bring him, man. Bring him. He's very, he's good. He's great in the air. I know we defenders, we don't really want to talk about the other bits of the game, but he stands up in difficult moments. Everybody saw against Croatia, the pass he played. He's very cultured on the ball. He's very intelligent, can play a back four as well as a back three. I like him a lot, man. He's comfortable inverting off the left-hand side. He did very well for Bologna at club level, helping them get in the Champions League in his own way. Has got some silly mistakes at times. He's a young defender, has given away a couple of penalties throughout last season and some dumb fouls. But, he's almost like a worst-kept secret where Italian football is concerned. Going into the Euros, his price tag is shot up. Bring him, really. I agree in that. I feel I do initially. I would like a versatile defender in it. I would like someone like Timber and Tomiyasu you can play across the back for. But if it was a push, I do think it comes to that left hand side. I can't say Timber is always going to play as a left back for Arsenal, but I think that's a great option. I think Tommy's a great option. As you know, Tomiyasu picks up a lot of injuries, and Timber again had a big one there. So we do need another versatile option there. So bring him through. I mean, Kiwior hasn't convinced that left back. Anyone that believes so is a liar. Zinchenko's great going forward, but he's terrible defensively. And as we've got better as a team, it's like the pros to Zinchenko kind of playing are not outweighed by the cons. So we probably do need a defensive option. And that's, I think you're bang on the money with concern there, because the more credible journalists, they keep saying Arsenal are intent on addressing that left-hand side. What that would mean for Kiwior, I don't know. Again, because I think Kiwior is someone that
Kiwior would go. I just don't see a reason to,
probably,
because he's more of like I've only watched him a couple of times, but Calafiori seems like he's more of like a center back type, so it's kind of like he's the more center backy type. It really wouldn't make sense to have him and Kiwior. It almost would feel like this may be me projecting, but getting somebody or being linked to somebody or going after Calafiori kind of feels like not quite feeling Kiwior as much. Let's try to fix it. We wanted this profile, but it hasn't worked out with Kiwior. That's what it feels like to me.
I mean, anyway, listen, with the greatest of respect to Kiwior, the bar's on the floor. Like, let's be brutally honest, the bar's on the floor. I feel when fans have gassed him up, and his performances, myself included, they've been overdoing it. Like, take nothing away from him. You can only play what's in front of you. But you came in when there was injuries, and you took your chance. But where we're not really being tested, you're battering people all up and down the country. You're not being tested defensively. When you look at the Man City away game, I actually think Arsenal fans were very harsh. Like, he had a decent game. He just got turned once by Bernardo Silva. I'm not being funny. That happens in football. I can't explain what he was doing, against Bayern Munich. He has to hold his hands up there. He was bugging out. But I don't think Kyrgios quite convinced, really. And I wouldn't say he's lacking in confidence, but I do think he kind of needs to show a bit more personality. And I think he's of that stage now where obviously you're not going to really take Gabriel's spot. Like, you're not. And you've just said at left back. So you're in a struggle. Where I think it's difficult for Kiwior is I actually think the club would want to move on Zinchenko due to his contract a lot more. I think Kiwior is like kind of like with the Partey's and Gabriel Jesus kind of ones, in that the club will listen to offers. They're not actively forcing you out, but they'll listen. And Kiwior could be someone to sell, because unlike a lot of our players, since he's been on the bench for Arsenal, the links to Italian clubs, and as you said, it doesn't mean things are happening, but they haven't gone away. I do feel sorry for Kiwior a bit, but I just don't think he's the answer, man. I just don't. And then you look at how, how he improved last season. A lot of it was because Arteta changed the system and said, you know what? You're not going to do the inverted thing. Play as a traditional fullback, which as a manager should. You're playing to his strengths. But Arteta doesn't really want to do that. Where you look at Zinni, not to say Zinni's a better option than Kiwior, but where you look at Zinni, Timber, and Tommy, he doesn't have to change that inverted left back role that he's fixated on. So it don't look good for Kiwior, man. But you never know.
I think with Kiwi, it's like when you look at his, especially like performances before he got to Arsenal, one thing that stood out to me is like the crossfield passes. I know Arteta doesn't love those. He doesn't love those. He doesn't like diagonals, but he has that in his locker. The clip balls into space, the through balls coming into midfield. He played in the DM position. Like, I think Kiwior's biggest problem is that Arsenal looked at him to do something specific, to, like you said, to invert because of some of the stuff that he can do on the ball, but then maintain that solidity defensively. He does lack. It's not the confidence, it's like the personality, like you said. And it's the personality to do things on the ball, to make that pass, or, because I don't think Arteta's telling him, like, don't pass between the lines, don't try to do this. But it does feel like he plays it a little safe. And,
I think he's too raw, man. Like, on hindsight, I think he might have joined us a bit too early. Still needs, it's like if he was a chicken, he needs to be in the oven a bit longer. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if he leaves Arsenal and ends up somewhere in a few years a bit better. Really.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And then, because I think that's why Mikel likes Zinchenko so much, and he says this quite a bit, is that it takes a lot of bravery to play the way that he plays. And it's because, like, when he gets into those midfield positions, he's not afraid to break lines, to allow players to get right on top of him so that he can, evade the pressure. And you have to have that to play for Arsenal in general. You know, I don't think like it's just a Kiwior thing. I think the players that are struggling the most in the team are the ones that lack personality on the pitch to make things happen. And so if that's the case, then you have to replace him, because I think left back is just like, we have Tavares,
Yeah.
Tierney, Zinchenko, Tommy, Kiwior, all on the books for that position. And none of them are like, we're still looking for a left back. So like, this is, I feel like the summer to figure it out.
Bit harsh on Tim
Um,
and Tommy, I feel. But yeah.
but we don't. Do you want Tommy to be the starter?
I don't mind it. Like I actually don't mind it. I think he's improved in the final third. Timber's got to be the starter for me. Tommy's more of a rotational kind of guy. But then I have to ask the question, like, what is the kind of stature of the player Arteta is going for? Is it a game changery kind of left backy guy, or is it a compliment to the squad doing what, with the greatest of respect to Kiwior, what he's failed to be able to do? Where I look at Calafiori, he's like in between. I could see you complimenting the side, but I could also see you taking someone's spot if things happen. And that's why I would like him, because you're genuine competition for Gabriel at left back. At centre half. You're genuine in competition at left back. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they'd have to be very bad for Kiwior to get in the side, respectfully to him.
Yeah. I think my only thing about and the only reason why I don't ever mention Timber in the left back conversation is because I thought he was always brought in to play on the right. And so you're taking away the depth on the right by making him the starter on the left. If you just buy the left back that we've been continuing to try to buy, then Timber and Ben White can deal with the right. Because I think that's what needs to happen on that side. Because Ben White has to play strapped all the time. That irritates the shit out of me. I'm not going to lie. Like, he's always strapped. He's always playing through injuries.
He's a warrior, man. He's a warrior, man.
Yeah, he is. But you know how it is with Arsenal players. It's like after a while, you can't always rely upon them. Yeah, so it's like, just get the left back. But the Calafiori guy, obviously he's linked with Juventus. And as soon as you're linked with Juventus, I'm like, well, they'll figure out a way to mortgage everything to get him there, a 5-year loan, staggered payments until 2035, whatever. Do you think we have any chance of getting him? Any? At all?
No, I mean, you never know. We bought Kiwior and Tommy from Italy. Obviously, again, being linked isn't exactly buying someone, but we were linked with Joshua Zirkzee. So obviously, if we've been watching Zirkzee, we had to have come across Calafiori. I guess so. Your hat could be in the ring. Obviously, we've got a young, impressionable manager in squad, and Mikel Arteta has improved a lot of players. But it all depends what he wants to do. Does he want to stay at Bologna, having just got in the Champions League? As you said, for Italian players, once Juventus and these kind of clubs get involved, things can happen. Obviously, I'm sure if there wasn't a Euros, there were some rumors online he's available for 20 to 30 million euros. With the Euros, you'd be an idiot if you are in charge of things at Bologna and you're not selling him to the highest bidder. Like, arguably, he's probably, if you did team of the tournament for the group stages, he's probably in and around that, really. So is it going to be something outside of Arsenal's remit? These are questions that neither you or me can answer, sadly, man. So we'll have to see.
Yeah. I feel like I want to see Arsenal get somebody like this, because it's just like one of those where you just never thought you would get them, but you get them. But it would just take so much. And I just feel like Arsenal, if they feel like it's about to be difficult, they're like, fuck it, we're done. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you'd have to offer him the world. You really would. Like, offer him the world. Is he worth that? Based on the hype, you would think so. But
and how does he see himself as well? Like, again, for us, he's a good squad player / someone that could push for spots, but he might say, you know what, ooh, left back, you've got Timber and Tommy, I might not be down for that. Gabriel's playing centre half. I might feel, bearing in mind,
offered the starting position, I feel like he would.
Yeah, but I mean, he just basically went back to Italy as well. So it's like, do you need a bit of stability? I definitely think we can entice him, and I definitely feel
it's London.
Yeah, you got London, yeah, but the Italian ones are weird. And I do feel if you join a bigger club than Bologna, on one hand, you want to be assured of football, but on the other, you have to relish competition. There are many things that could entice him. But as you know, being linked and actually signing these players, it's another thing. And Arsenal, we tend to operate in that he has to not give us his word, but we've enticed you so much. You're not like with Declan Rice. You're not really listening to City, regardless if they want to bid or not. And Calafiori shouldn't. If I'm him, I'm not giving Arsenal that luxury, if I'm honest. And you'd imagine there's a lot of clubs that are at the queue, man. He's been linked with Liverpool, Spurs, sadly, Juventus, Inter, and AC Milan. Kiwior's been linked with Juventus. I don't mind giving them Kiwior and we get him.
I feel like that's the perfect scenario. Is that, you know, Kiwi goes there and then we get Calafiori. Like,
yeah, Kiwior will look all right in Juventus as well, man.
Yeah,
and we'd actually get someone we can believe in.
Yeah. MV says, I think he will cost about 50 million. At 60 million, I think he has to have the starting spot. Yeah, I mean, I see Arsenal investing at left back, that position. I just don't think they're satisfied with what they have. And they shouldn't be, because they have 2 injury prone guys there. And they also have
harsh on Timber. Is he injury prone, or did he just have a significant
not
injury?
Timber. Zinchenko and Tommy are the injury prone guys.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Yeah, even me, we've got so many left backs. I'm forgetting. Yeah, you're right. I'm forgetting. Yeah,
too many guys. Like, seriously.
Yeah, you're right.
If we're stuck, if Tierney is stuck, like, let's just say Tierney is stuck. It's not the worst thing, because he'll be the Cedric guy. I feel like, just there, but it just is what it is. Zinchenko and Kiwior, they got to figure out which one of them is going to hit the road. Like, one of them has to hit the road. And so,
I think it could be. It's a weird one, because I feel
no one wants Zinchenko.
That's the thing. It seems like with Kiwior, there's genuine interest. They might say, you know what, we can make our money back. But with Zinni, you've got 2 years left on your deal. But then whatever we say about Zinni, you do have a wealth of experience. As you said earlier, you are Mikel Arteta's guy. And for better or worse, at times, Arteta has consistently played you, really. So,
yeah. I think the club are unsatisfied with Zinchenko. I don't know if Arteta is. Do you know what I mean?
Do you think they should, though? Because I'd argue we got what we paid for. Like, this is what he did.
I'm not surprised. I'm, as someone that, like, I was always real about what I thought Zinchenko was about to be. I was like, ooh, he's about to be so good on the ball, but he's going to be so bad in the other direction. But so when he does what he does, I just don't feel the same thing. I know. Yeah. Like, outside, you know, it's the political thing. Like, I know it's like, it's mostly that. But from a playing perspective, I think Zinchenko's good, you know, but he's definitely not somebody that you bet the house on. You know, I feel like we were always meant to get another upgrade.
Building your house on the sand if Zinni's the one you're building around.
Yeah. So, but if he doesn't have any interest and Kiwior does, I think it makes it makes it more obvious what we should do.
Zinni's probably on bigger wages as well.
Yeah. So, yeah, but Calafiori would be a very interesting option. You know, we've been linked with Hato. I think that's kind of dead.
Yeah, that's dead for a year at least.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anybody else? I think we were also linked to, he plays for Leverkusen. You'll remind me what his name is. What is his name, guys? Is he Colombian? What is he?
Not Pancho. Is it Pancho?
Hincapié?
Oh, Hincapié. Oh, Hincapié. You see where it is with them players, yeah? Like, when we've been linked with Osman Diamande, Hincapié, Gurhi, like them kind of caliber of players, they're all good players, especially I like Gurhi. But do we see the club, and we might be hypocrites because we just said with Calafiori, but do we see the club spending that kind of money on someone who may not be first choice in that back line? I'm not saying you couldn't. Other clubs have.
But I'll be real. I feel like any of those players walks in and starts. I think our left back situation, if they see Timber being more on the right, which is what I read, is that Arteta can see Timber on both sides, obviously, because he's good enough. But Arteta is not satisfied with the left-handed sides or the left-handed options, and Timber will also play on the right too. So it's like, yeah, like, I do feel like they would invest in that position, and whoever comes in would be a starter.
But it's good problems then. If you got Tommy, Timber, new guy, Benjamin White, and like at least 3 or so of those or two to three of them can play in two different roles on either side. Got fantastic depth then, really, and good problems for Arteta. Good headaches.
You need somebody that can play left-sided center back, and Timber can't do that. And I think that's another reason why
Or,
we're going to continue to do that.
to be fair, I think he could. Tommy could.
Yeah,
Saliba could.
but you know what I mean. You know what I mean? That's why we have Kiwior. Kiwior is there because he can play left-sided center back.
He's kind of got no choice.
Huh?
He's kind of got no choice.
But you know what I mean.
I know what you mean, but it's like,
yeah, like let's say you take Kiwior out. If something were to happen to Gabriel, the option you'd have to go with is probably Tommy, which
Tommy
isn't like the worst option, but it's like I'm pretty sure you'd want another like option.
if you're for me, it'd have to be another top centre half, but we're not going to do that, man. Like we're not going to get.
That's
that.
where Calafiori is coming in. That's why I think it makes so much sense. Do you see anything?
I'm pessimistic on our chances of getting him, but I would love this. As I said, I'd love this to be the scenario we're in, if I'm honest with you. And then like, obviously, like a lot of these footballers are multifunctional, but a lot of the names we've discussed, like even with Kiwior, they can play left back. They're not traditional left back. So how long are they really going to stay in that role and thrive? You could look at someone like Ake, who's probably a centre half by trade, who on a regular basis plays fullback, but I'm not sure, man. Like, I'm not sure. That's why I said my first initial sort of guy, and there's no names that I've got, but I would like someone of Tomiyasu and Timber's ilk that can just play on both sides. But then I recognize what you're saying. I think we're weak at centre half, like, and that's where I want both, because you can kind of feel it in both roles.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think.
Hope we address that though.
Yeah, if I were to guess, I think whoever comes in is going to be a left-sided center back, left back, like kind of situation. Ben White will do his inversion because also Timber will be able to invert on that side, and it'll just be what it is. Will it be Calafiori? Probably fucking not, but it'll be someone.
Dreams free, man. The dreams free. The hustle so simple.
Yeah, probably not. On Gahey, we've been linked with him too. What are your thoughts on him? Like just as a player and stuff.
I love him. I just think you're gonna cost far too much as a myth. I love him. I like him. He's a steady Eddie, and that's not to downplay him. What I like about him, I don't know if it makes sense, but he rarely does things above his pay grade. Like, he's very self-aware. He's safety first. He can play, but you will never see him trying other stuff. It's like he'll be like, if he signed for Arsenal, it's just one of those that they're consistent. A bit like what we saw initially with Tomiyasu when we were flirting with Timber. It's like, you're just going to do your job. Like, you're just going to do your job. You're going to be outstanding in a sense, but you're just going to do your job. And I think you need a couple of those guys. Like, I got a lot of time for Gurhey, but you're going to cost a premium. And even if you're Gurhey, again, if you step up, you're going to have to be able to put up with competition. But you've got Saliba and Gabriel there. Are you like, if you back yourself and we want to get it done, great. But do you think you're going to disarm Saliba for his spot? Do you think you're going to convince Arteta to say Saliba go left-sided and you're there? I'm not sure.
Well, let me ask you this. This is going to come off so bad, and I know people are going to be so angry in the chat. How secure do you actually think Gabriel's position is?
I think he'll be the one that's moved on. If there was a scenario where they could improve, then great. But I think Gabriel's more than secure, if I'm honest. I think he's calm. I think he's very underappreciated. I think if there's a market opportunity for someone that Arteta believes in, a bit like what we got with Raya with Aaron Ramsdale's case, then yeah. But I think Gabriel's a linchpin there, man. I think he's cool.
Okay. Just throwing that out there. I've always felt like Mikel, he doesn't love Gabriel, but like there definitely is like a little bit of like but if I could upgrade on you,
but that's for the majority of the squad. Like, you can say that
it's not Saliba. Like,
that's
Saliba,
what I said. The majority of the squad, unless your name is Martin Odegaard, Bukayo Saka, or William Saliba, of course your place is going to be dispensable, really. And if there was a scenario where there's players in those roles that are twice the players of these guys, Arteta be a fool not to go and sign them.
Yeah.
Same way, if we could get a manager better than Arteta, like that was what Arteta is doing to another thing, we'd be foolish as a club not to upgrade. It's the belly of the beast.
I mean, my antennas were going so crazy at the beginning of the season. I was just like, you just first of all, if Arteta really like rated Gabriel the way that I feel like a lot of people think he does, there would be no way that we would even entertain anything from Saudi Arabia and sit him on the bench for the first 3 games of the season.
His head's not there, man. He even come out and said it. You got to
You
remember,
said his head
Sadiq,
wasn't there?
Gabriel is one of. You got to remember, Gabriel's one of Arteta's kind of pet projects. Where you look at Gabriel, Odegaard, they kind Benjamin White and Ramsdale loosely. They kind of show the progression. I don't think his place is dispensable, but I do think he's underappreciated, and there's not really a market out there for people better than him. As I said, if Arteta saw that opportunity and didn't take it, I would call Arteta a fool. But Gabriel's cool, man. Like his head got turned with the Saudi money. He kind of said it, and there's no correlation that the minute he came back, we did our thing really, and for a large part of
Yeah,
last
because
season,
him and
he's
Saliba
underappreciated.
just work so well together. Like, and that's the thing. It's like Gabriel is. I wouldn't say that I think that Gabriel is at the top level, but he's so good that it's like, in order to upgrade upon him, you'd have to bring in somebody really special. And so it's going to be really hard to do that. And I think that's kind of where we are with quite a few of our players. Even like I don't like maybe even like Gabriel Martinelli type, where there's differences of opinion on whether or not we should upgrade upon him or not. Whether you like, it would be hard to, because Martinelli is right there. Like, I don't think it's like that easy, even though I can see some players that, it'd be nice to see them in the team for sure.
You got two options with upgrading on Martinelli. You either pay the going cost of these top bracket wingers and the money that comes with it, or you find yourself a rough diamond potentially. If not, which you could argue Martinelli is. Other than that, it's a non-starter, really.
Yeah. Do you think what do you think about Martinelli for next season? And if we were to bring in somebody like Pedro Neto, do you think that he would come in as like a starter, or do you think he'd be like a backup? Like, what do you actually think about, like, what are we doing? Are we trying to bring in somebody that can take his position, or just add?
I mean, it's a difficult one, man, because naturally you want a byproduct of, if you always, in theory, you want better than what you have, just loosely, because then it raises the bar and it raises the ceiling and the floor, depending on how you get it. I would like an upgrade if we are going to bring someone in. If you can't do that, can we get someone that brings the numbers? I don't know if Pedro Neto is clear of Martinelli, but I think both of you've got pre-season to show, and it's a good reaction. You look at Timber. Obviously Timber can play left back, but a lot of the talk last summer was Benjamin White, you might be in problems. Benjamin White didn't want to go out like that. Stood up to be counted. Now we've got the best of both worlds. And there's many other examples throughout the squad of that, essentially. It didn't really work out with Ramsdale. But yeah, I think they'd have to fight out. But what you would say is, if you sign someone for probably 40, 50, 60 million, the fans are going to want to see it. Arteta's going to want to see it. And we got to remember, it's a long season. Playing Pedro Neto could get the best out of Martinelli. And I think what Martinelli lacks is that level of consistency. Like, people abused me on YouTube last season is when I said, going into this year, don't be surprised if Martinelli doesn't get the goals he did. He needs to do it again. That's the one difference beyond the obvious with him and Saka. And it goes back to what we're saying on my channel. It's like, there's a lot of volatility throughout the squad. There's not really too many players you can bet your house are going to deliver the goods. It's weird because we got 91 Premier League goals last season, over 100 in all comps. But we know we're going to score goals. You don't necessarily know beyond Bukayo Saka who is going to score goals. Jesus has showed you, Martinelli and Jesus have showed you that they can and can't score goals. Odegaard's got a handsome return this year, but it weren't what it was. Obviously, Declan Rice brought goals and with the set pieces and things, but this is why I believe that we cannot go into next season without a winger or a striker. Now, it looks like the striker thing is dead now in the water.
Yeah.
So we need a wide man, whether that's a versatile option that can stand up to be counted, whether that's a game changer. It's down to Mikel Arteta and their dude to pull out the bag, Jess, man.
Yeah. I think that it's just, it's interesting because, like, Neto, I think, has the ability to be like a real starter for Arsenal. Like, I don't view him as like a backup. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you look at like Trossard, he's a backup. Like, if somebody is fit and firing, you're not playing, period. Neto, I don't really view in the same way. That being said, it would be nice to even see Neto on the right and Martinelli on the left in some games, and let Saka rest. So he makes a lot of sense, but also like the injuries just really that would be the main reason why he wouldn't be able to be a starter, is because
that's the one thing you can say about Pedro Neto is with Arsenal tax, are you going to stay fit? Who knows? We want to see
They,
you on the pitch. We don't want to see you become best friends with our medical doctors and Thomas Partey and unfortunately Tomiyasu. It's not
I
going to make sense.
know, definitely not. Keenan says Martinelli fell off when Xhaka left. Get a class left center mid, and his output will go back to normal. Rice should play DM6. We kind of talked about that on your show, so we won't go through like all of that. But I do want to say that like the Eze interest really interests me because obviously a lot of people see him as a winger. I don't. I don't see him as a winger in Arteta's system at all because I think Arsenal want to make sure that they have that same like Saka Martinelli thing where they can like hold the width and they can go 1v1. And not saying Eze can't do that, but I think Eze is a midfielder, like an attacking midfielder, but a midfielder. And so I'm excited about the link, but he's nothing like Granit Xhaka. So I wanted to ask you, like, with the whole wanting to get somebody like Xhaka to play in that position for Martinelli, but we're being linked with Eze. What do you think the plan would be for Eze? Is it for him to play off of the wing, or would he be that more advanced midfielder? And how would that impact somebody like Martinelli on the left?
I mean, in terms of impacting, ballers always play well with ballers, in it. So I think that he'll
Sure.
be fine, just like if Trossard played. This is what I've been saying in my vision, that I do think there's a level of interest, and I think we'd all love Eze, but I don't think he's quite the profile that Arteta is looking for. He probably, you know what, we'd probably utilize his versatility. I actually think he'd play a lot of games in that left eight. I do think naturally he's an option off that left hand side in the short, medium, and long term. Can actually play off the right, but I think
Yeah.
we need someone. I don't want to keep, with the greatest of respect to Xhaka, because he was a good player, but I feel it's a case of we haven't addressed that we kind of put him on a level he's not. He just, you look at Granit Xhaka, he's an intelligent, multifunctional, deep lying / box to box midfielder that links up very well. He understands when to run short to let his teammate go long, or when to make that forward run. I think Eze can do that, but he's more of a dribbler. Xhaka's game is more around his passing, his movement, his link-up play. I do think we need someone that, that has left the void that Granit Xhaka and Santi Cazorla's left. I think we need someone more aligned to that. If we bring Eze to the carpet, I'm excited, though, because we could be killers on the transition. And I
Yeah.
do think if you did sign Eze, just like with Xhaka, they're two they are completely different central midfielders, but you would see a better left-hand side, and not just for Martinelli, whoever the hell's out there, because it does feel a lot of it is because of players left and the void. And kind of going back to what Jess said earlier, when you've had inconsistencies at left back, when you've had inconsistencies in midfield, in contrast to the right-hand side, there's no surprise that there's struggles there. But I also think tactically, there's a lot of the times it does appear that Martinelli on the left-hand side has to hold more of the width than Bukayo Saka. Now, if Arteta wants to do that, he can do that. But these are things that I think goes against certain players. I even think that happens with Trossard as well.
Yeah, for sure. And it's just like, I just like Eze because I know that he would step straight in and wouldn't be afraid to like get on the ball and make things happen. We spoke about this on your show, but I just feel like, yeah, there's just lack of personality or like, good players, even if it's not perfect, it could work. And so if you were to play the more two advanced midfielders with Declan Rice, I don't think it'd be a train wreck. I think Eze would relish the opportunity to like get on the ball and dribble and break lines. And one thing about him is he likes to score goals. He likes to take shots. Like, we lack a little bit of that. I just feel like every time we play somebody else in that position that's not like more of like a DM or Declan Rice, we lose a midfielder. And I don't think we do that with Eze, but that's just where I'm at. But I know he's not like the perfect fit for the wing. Would getting Eze mean no winger? Is that what you
Probably.
feel? Yeah.
Probably
Because
not,
he would
because
be
he can do
expensive.
it. He could
He's
do it,
going to
and
be
it'd be
expensive.
expensive. Like,
Yeah.
there's a reality where, of course, you could side a central midfielder, and Eze is another option in midfield as well as off the left. Because I actually think he'd thrive off that Arsenal left-hand side as well, and off the right. But obviously, you got the big dog, Bukayo, over there. He'd be lit. And obviously, one thing that goes under the radar is he can play as a 10 as well. Like, he can play as a 10. We do not have real depth there. Of course, I'm a big fan of Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira. It's a myth. Me and you both know, God forbid, anything happens to Martin Odegaard, Kai Havertz is being put in that 10 role. And I understand that. Not on the ball. We all know Kai isn't the best player on the ball with all of that stuff. But off the
Yeah.
ball, he's kind of the closest we've got to Martin Odegaard in terms of the work ethic. So it'd be a great signing. But he's one of them, kind of what you said earlier. It's like, seeing is believing with Eze. Like, I'll need to see him holding the Arsenal shirt. I know he talks about getting released by the club and whatnot, and I'm sure he'd listen. I'm sure there's interest from Arsenal and everyone likes him, but I would need to see him holding the shirt and all of that to even consider these things.
Really? So you don't actually believe it? Like
I
like
didn't
not
believe we'd sign Aubameyang. I didn't think we'd sign Declan Rice. So I might be a positive omen, really. But seeing's believing, man. Like, I need to see it. I don't doubt that there's interest. I don't doubt that we could find some pennies to hustle together. But
not
you need
pennies.
to see his believing. And obviously, if you're Crystal Palace, like, you've already lost Elise, you might lose Gurhey. Do you really want your new manager to lose Eze? Especially where you've just got in young Wharton, you got Eze. There's a couple other Crystal Palace players that I'm sure they've got. You want to keep that together, really. So you probably have to overpay with like Declan Rice. But if he does the job, it doesn't matter. It's the going rate. And I do feel we can shop smartly and stuff. But we are getting to that scenario just as a football club is every now and again, if there's a special player, just overpay. Like, just get it done. Like,
Yeah, I feel like at 26, which he will be in like a couple of days,
isn't it? Really?
It's time to make it shake. You know, because somebody was like, "Oh, well, Crystal Palace could potentially get Europe next season." I'm like, and like, they could get Europe, and they get Europe. So this next season, while he's 26, they could potentially get Europe. The next season, they'll be in some form of Europe. It probably won't be Champions League. He'll be 28. Like, he's going to, if anybody that plays in Europe now shows him any level of interest, any of the top 6 clubs, he's going to start agitating for a move.
Top 5 in Spurs.
Yeah, like, it's happening. So this is it. This is the summer. Also, Lucas Paquetá not being
Signed a
available
new
for
deal as well,
transfer.
man. Eze signed a new deal not too long ago as well, so he'd really have to make a song and dance. But
Yeah.
you'd imagine being in the England squad, you know, naturally, like with Declan Rice last year with Saka, you know, if they're getting in his ear, telling him about Arsenal, telling him about the champs, what it's like fighting for the Prem, then kind of tying into your point, Eze must be thinking, because Elise's got a couple of years on him. Eze, it's not now or never, but you're bang on the money with that. And like, what do I want at the end of the day of my career?
Yeah, and instead of, you know, Man City and, you know, maybe another team looking at Lucas Paquetá, they're going to instantly start looking at Eze because he's not going to be available for a transfer. So this is kind of like, it's not it. I'm not saying that this is it, but he definitely needs to start looking beyond Crystal Palace if he wants to like kind of make that progression. I think he has everything in his toolbox to be like a player playing for a Champions League team. It's just a matter of which one. I would hate to see him at Spurs just because I feel like, you know, but
no, I think you got to Spurs, you're overrated, man. No, I'll be happy to see if you're that foolish enough to sign for that club, then do your thing.
Yeah. Last but not least, just quickly about the Koundé thing. Do we even need to
do you really believe it?
No, not because it doesn't make any sense. Like, he doesn't play on the left.
Apparently, I don't know, man. Like, the one, I guess there's some level of interest because you don't know, Barcelona might have some deals going. I think the Athletic said when we signed Benjamin White that we initially inquired about Koundé, so maybe we're looking at that. But it just, like you said, it doesn't make sense. There's also some rumors that he prefers to play centre half. If you prefer to play centre half, are you taking Saliba's spot? Yeah, Saliba might move over to that side and you could play next to him, but that would go back to what you're saying. If Gabriel was being sold, it don't make sense. I mean, I would have it, you know, if Arteta is planning something that we haven't even thought about, then great, do it. But out of all the areas we need, where throughout this video you've been speaking about left back and centre mid and that, it don't make sense. It really doesn't.
It really doesn't.
Good player though. He's doing all right in the Euros in a poor France side at the moment.
But yeah. Nico is saying Chelsea made contact over Shrewsbury Hall. That's coming from David Ornstein. They're going to make contact over everybody. One thing about Chelsea is the transfer window is where they shine. They want to be linked with as many players as possible. They want to spend as much money as possible. They want to bring in as many players as possible because that's what they're about. Like, I fully expect them to be interested in fucking everybody. So it's
to be fair, it'd be a reunion with his old manager, isn't it? Like, if that is the case.
I mean, yeah, like Shrewsbury Hall, like,
decent,
I don't know. He's pretty good, right? But
he's performed against us quite a couple times. He's decent. Like, he's actually decent. Like, I could see why Chelsea won the game. I could see why Arsenal were interested, but this whole interested thing, it's overstated in my opinion. Like,
the interest. Call me when we have a bid in.
Tell me when players are holding shirts, man. I'm walking through the Emirates talking about I grew up
Okay,
watching Thierry Henry.
now for a content creator, it's not just about the holding the shirt. You got,
Oh, we've
like
got a job to do,
you
100%.
might as
But
well shut it down.
nah, man. For me as a fan, I don't get excited until people are in the shirt, man. Like with Declan Rice, the only time I really got excited with Declan Rice is when Ornstein started consistently talking about it, really. And actually, when they did the announcement video, I just can't do it to myself, man. Like you said, you're right. We have to talk about talk about players that we know it's not going to happen and whatnot. But it's hard for me to get excited with transfers, especially the more upper level players. I was excited about
Oh,
Sesko. I
really?
was bullish
The
about
upper
how.
level players you don't like talking about. Fair.
Pardon?
I said the upper level players you don't really get interested in talking about.
Yeah, because we know what time is. I'm happy to talk about Kiwior though.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm like, I like the transfer talk, but it's just so stressful at times because it's just like you have to live every moment of it as a content creator, and I kind of just want to like be away from it. The Declan Rice thing was just like it was so long. Like I love the Timber transfer because it just was like boom, it
Yeah,
was
I was
over.
gassed about Timber to be fair. Just got
But
new
Declan
wave, bro.
Rice was too much.
I was
But
happy
do
about
remember,
Gabriel Jesus as well.
yeah, Gabriel, because that was like smooth sailing too. Like we only got like a couple of those. Oh, Chelsea are trying to swoop in like at the end, but we still knew we were going to get him, so it didn't matter. But now they have to make every transfer into a race and multiple clubs interested and all this, and I'm just like,
Everyone's just repeating the same thing. That's why I tend to listen. Big up Fabrizio Romano, but I like Ornstein's style. Like he just talks when there's something really worth talking about. He's not saying everything. Like the guy brushed his teeth today and he's driving. He's been linked with Arsenal. He's gone to the dentist. Like it just feels like the fun has been taken out of transfers. If I'm honest with you, and everyone's just saying the same thing. Really, it's just recreating it. It's like everyone's stolen each other's homework and just rewriting it. Like, it's boring.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think we're all just kind of waiting for July and see what happens, but hopefully we'll get the Ornstein bombs here and there soon, but yeah, we'll go ahead and end it there. Can you let everybody know where they can find you and what you got going on?
I'm actually going to shoot another video after this.
Nice.
Just head over to Deludaguna on YouTube or Twitch and just type that in and we're there in it, really. On all the socials, yeah. Just do that, man, if you want to listen to my rants and whatnot.
Yeah. You're also doing like watch-alongs and all that kind of stuff. You have a day off.
Yeah, for the Euros, today, right? Hell of that, man. It's coming home. It's coming home. Don't trust the process. Trust Gareth Southgate. In Saka, we trust it's happening. We're going further than America. We're going in the Copa America, but that's nothing to scream and shout about.
Like I said, we won our game.
That's cool. You got Matt Turner in goal. Great stuff.
He's very good.
You drew against us at the World Cup and won't shut up about it. You lot are the Spurs of international football.
Oh my gosh. You guys are so annoying. I cannot.
To be fair, that could be England, to be fair.
It could be. It could be.
Actually,
yeah. Guys, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that kind of stuff. If you guys are just joining, you guys could just watch it. Just rewind once it's over so you can watch it from the beginning. We spoke about Calafiori, Noeri, all kind of stuff. So yeah. And we'll see you guys in the next one.
Come on,
bye,
people.
Guys.
Peace.
I'm like, wait, I'm not ready to turn it off. Sorry, guys. I'm still getting used to the program, just like everyone else. So yeah. Boop. Ended.
Peace out, people. That's a shame. I wanted to say bye.
Yeah, we're done. We're done.
I wanted to say bye to them properly. Damn.